Welcome to once again the most anticipated MotoGP seasons of all time, as usual. Welcome to MotoGP 2024. Hey guys, welcome to another YouTube video, and today I'll be previewing the 2024 season of the MotoGP World Championship. Now in this video, I'm only just going to talk about MotoGP, and then in another video, I'll be previewing both Moto2 and Moto3. So yeah, excuse me for a drink here. It's been absolutely been steaming hot the last couple of days here. So I need to. If you see me getting a drink more than usual, it's not only been a hot couple of days. Apparently, it's gonna get hot tonight. So I need to get the fluids up quite quickly, and it's gonna be hot tomorrow. So yeah. But anyways, so I'm gonna go through brand by brand in manufacturer's championship order. This time, rather than going through team by team, as I've done with supercars and Formula One, I'm gonna do this for MotoGP pretty much as well. Of course, this weekend, obviously, I'm not gonna say anything about what's happened this weekend, because today, of course, tomorrow morning is the race for the races, Moto3, Moto2, and of course MotoGP. I'm not going to mention anything about those. So let's say I'm going to go brand by brand of all five manufacturers, and also explain about, and also do a bit of a summary into each team's pre-season test, because there was two of them for MotoGP, one in Sepang and then one a couple of weeks ago in Qatar, which they are at this weekend. So the first one. So let's get the first manufacturer out of the way, and it's Honda, and they're entering a kind of a new era over at Honda, because it's a Honda brand without Marc Marquez. Let's put it that way. We'll get to him later. There's changes, of course, for Honda. One is the acquisition of Johann Zarco from Pramac to replace Alex Rins over at LCR Honda, and then of course the Marquez replacement at Repsol Honda is of course Luca Marini, who's going from the VR46 team. So two riders, I should say, who were part of Ducati, but with separate teams, have now moved over to Honda. Good luck to those two guys. They definitely need it. Joining the likes, obviously, with Taka Nakagami, of course, Zarco joining Taka Nakagami, I should say, at LCR Honda, and of course, Luca Marini joining the 2020 MotoGP World Champion Joan Mir at Repsol Honda. So cool. And of course, looking at Zarco and Marini's seasons, it's always funny to look at compared to Nakagami and Mir's 2023 seasons. It looks funny, to be honest. Well, not funny, basically, because both Zarco and Marini were on Ducatis. But Zarco, of course, finally got that maiden win, ironically, here in Australia at Phillip Island in that classic race. In that race, which we held the Grand Prix on the Saturday, and then held the sprint race on the Sunday, which that never happened because they basically got cancelled. Zarco sort of held his own for most of the season, obviously, with six other Grand Prix podiums, 5 other Grand Prix podiums. For that name as well. And then Marini as well. I don't know if he's doing some sort of, I'm not saying career suicide, but generally a risk going to Repsol Honda. The way the RC213V's gone in recent years. Luca obviously his best season. I mean, a couple of poles, a couple of podiums, and for a couple of GP podiums and sprint podiums, 3 sprint podiums to go with that as well. And then obviously Taka. Obviously, Taka, his best finishes being ninth a couple of times at back-to-back times, I should say, at Le Mans and at Mugello, and then of course Mir plagued by injury and crashes. It was just embarrassing, really, how many times the 2 LCR Honda riders in he and Marc Marquez crashed many times, and then moving on to obviously Sepang, moving on of course to the 2 tests at Sepang and at the Lusail circuit in Qatar. How appropriate is where they are at for the first round of the season. Mir obviously, in all the combined times out of the 3 days, the best times combined out of the 3 days, he was the 10th quickest, and then obviously Taka Nakagami led them. Zarco wasn't that bad out of the Honda riders. Trailed Taka by mere 2/10 of a second, and then Marini was the only one out of the Hondas not to get into the 57s out of the course of the 3 days at Sepang. And then combined out of the two teams, obviously Repsol Honda. Actually, surprisingly, LCR Honda did the most mileage out of the two teams combined between Taka and Joanne with 244 laps combined out of the 10 and not surprisingly the two Honda teams were at the bottom of the pole in terms of mileage at the Sepang test. In terms of teams, both teams were at the bottom of the pole, but in terms of Honda themselves, they weren't, because obviously the next manufacturer we're going to talk about in Yamaha, obviously because they only got 2 bikes in both the tests, 3 bikes if you count Cal Crunchlow, they're at the bottom of the pole. So anyways, but surprisingly that the 2 LCR, but as I said, 2 LCR boys of Nakagami and Zarco got the most mileage by 10 laps over Marini and Mir, with Taka and Joanne getting 244 laps combined, while 234 laps combined between Luca and Joanne. So yeah, and then obviously, and then not surprisingly, they fell back. They fell pretty much this is going to be where they are basically at the Qatar test a few weeks later. Basically everywhere in all facets, they're pretty much down the bottom end of the pile. So yeah, so we don't need to get into that. Out of combined times, 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. So yeah, not good there for the Hondas. And also grand total laps combined out of both the tests. They did 800. They did almost 880 odd laps. So almost 880. So that's pretty good. Really good going there for them. Really, and yeah. So I think for me in this case, I think for me in that case, I think it's just my expectations for Honda are quite low, to be honest. It's just they're at a rebuilding stage now. They got no Marc Marquez in there. They actually got a very good livery too. I was when they launched their bike, I was very surprised about their bike livery, because I thought, oh, it's just going to be the same as it has been. Same as 2023, same as 2022, same as 2021, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13. But it actually, but this time it actually looks quite good. It actually looks great with in the all kind of black livery. It kind of reminds me a bit of the liveries when the likes of I don't know, when Stoner was there, when Pedrosa was there, when the late great Nicky Hayden was there when he was winning his world championship in 2006. It just reminded me of those type of bike liveries. They actually look quite nice, actually. And so to the LCR. For some reason, I don't know why, I have a real soft spot for that Castrol bike livery. I love that bike livery. To be honest, really. But yeah. But as I said, not real expectations really for Honda this season. Just get some results. That's all I can say. That's all I can say with Honda, pretty much. They might surprise a few people at a few tracks. Like for example, what Mir did at India when he finished fifth there. Maybe something like that. But other than that, I don't think they're going to get much out of it, to be honest. And to be honest, this is a very much a. In terms of who's the most pressure, who's the most under the most pressure out of that Honda manufacturer, out of that four, I think Taka's the most under pressure, because of course there's a couple of guys there that could be receipt there from Moto2, like a Chandra, who's racing for the Honda Team Asia in the Mitsu team in Moto2. You got Ayagura. Those type of guys that if Taka fails again this season, I think just to add a bit of intrigue, I have to check. I think he's also off contract. I think at the end of this year. I think so. So yeah. So I think if there was anybody out of that four that's going to be the most pressure, it's going to be Taka, definitely. It'll be Taka, definitely, because if he doesn't, then I think he might get ousted at LCR and probably get ousted from Honda entirely, in my opinion. Moving on to the other struggling manufacturer, the other struggling brand, and that is the Blue Crew, and that is Yamaha. Of course, out the team goes Franco Morbidelli. He's gone off to another MotoGP team. We'll get to that one later. And in from LCR Honda comes Alex Rins to partner 2021 MotoGP World Champion Fabio Quartararo. After a fairly successful couple of years, of course, with Fabio, of course, challenging for the title winning the title in 2021, and then challenging for the title, basically leading the championship 75% of the time in 2022, they decided to go in 2023. Quartararo only just by the skin of his teeth, just snuck in the top 10 in the championship at the end of the year. And that would have been embarrassing for him if for example, because at this stage, if Miller had finished on the podium, he would have snuck in the top 10 of the championship ahead of Fabio, and that would have been embarrassing for him for coming off, challenge for the title in 2020, albeit he at the end of the season he sort of fell away. 2021 winning the title, 2022. As I said, leading the championship for 75% of the time, but then fell away in the back half of the season to obviously lose the title to Pecco Bagnaia. And for him to just miss out on the top 10, that would, after all that, would be embarrassing. He's lucky that he finished inside. Lucky that Miller ended up crashing out in the final race of Valencia. I think of when he was in the lead or second, because I remember him and Binder were 1 and 2. I can remember someone saying Binder and Miller were 1-2 at the start of the Valencian Grand Prix race. But that's what I think, to be honest. And then obviously Rins, I see him actually, once he gets to grips with the Yamaha, I can see him like, because what he was known for when he was on that Suzuki was he was good on that Suzuki was good on its tires. That was what it was notoriously known for, was taking care of its tires. Yamaha is basically around about basically not as good as the Suzuki on that, but sort of in a way. When he gets used to it, he'll probably get comfortable with that Yamaha, to be honest. But yeah, and yeah, so of course, last year obviously coming off of the win, getting LCR Honda's first win in MotoGP at Qatar, like the win, the sole Grand Prix podium that he had, the sole sprint race podium that he had, and the sole fastest lap that he had were all in the one weekend at Qatar. And then obviously just didn't go well for the remainder of the year, because obviously he was either down the bottom of the pecking order or he was out injured. So yeah, and then obviously with Fabio, pretty self-explanatory, really, which I'll talk about more about him in a bit. Then the so the Sepang test, the Sepang test, obviously they had the third rider in their midst in test rider Cal Crutchlow, and obviously it didn't set the world on fire in terms of the time sheets, lap times, not surprisingly. In both that and the Qatar test, to be honest, they didn't really set the world on fire in terms of lap times. But they did do like Crutchlow did like the sixth most mileage out of all the riders, with 165 laps. That's not surprisingly, because since he's a test rider, and then the other two in Fabio and Alex just clogged laps, really, not much laps really, to be honest, and then clogged the most laps, not surprisingly. And then obviously the same thing. Like Quartararo, and then obviously in terms of the laps, in terms of mileage, it was reversed. Yeah, like obviously, and of course, obviously, because a couple of weeks later would be the Grand Prix itself. So obviously, you would need, of course, Fabio and Alex to get more mileage in the bike than Cal is, because obviously Cal is a test rider. So yeah, and then so that meant and then obviously out of all of it, it's not surprisingly they're at the bottom of the pile, because obviously they have 3 bikes, obviously, while others have four bikes, or in Ducati's case, 8 bikes. So my expectations on the Yamaha, it's pretty much the same really as Honda, just not much really to report there, to be honest. I think Rins will get used to the bike pretty quickly. And then Fabio, he's the guy that's under pressure out of he and Alex. I mean, Alex is new to the team. Fabio has been there now for almost 4 years now. He's won the title once and challenged it for the title at least twice. And it obviously dropped to 10th in the championship. And at some stage, one way or another, we didn't know he was going to be in the top. If he was going to finish outside the top 10 in the championship, he's the most under pressure. Most definitely, because Yamaha itself would probably be the most under pressure, because if they don't improve on last year, that could be the straw that breaks the camel's back for Fabio. Because I said in my potential rider lineups for a video, which I hope you check out, by the way. I did say there's the potential for Fabio Quartararo to move over to to some place like Aprilia for 2025. I think that could be the case. So he doesn't to be honest. I think if I was Fabio, I wouldn't care if it's a factory ride or a satellite ride. At least get me on something that's more powerful. It has a more powerful engine than a Yamaha. To be honest, and as I said, if Yamaha doesn't improve, that would be the straw that breaks Fabio's camel's back. To be honest, in getting him out of there, To be honest, then that could obviously open the door for someone for someone like Aprilia, like a team like Aprilia to come knocking, or if for example, like it doesn't work out, maybe Trackhouse, maybe if it doesn't work out with Oliveira and Raul Fernandez, there might be the chance that he might say, you know what, I don't care if you put me on a 2025 on a factory spec bike or a 2020 or an outdated spec bike. I don't care. Just get me on that team and get me out of this freaking Yamaha at YZR-M1, because we all know for God knows how many years it's been tremendously underpowered. And Fabio, the truth is about Fabio is we all know he's been a great qualifier. We all know that if he starts at the front row, then he's great. He's great, especially when he's off pole. When he gets to the front, when he starts off at the front and then gets to the lead, he has a habit of clearing off. We saw it a lot of times, especially when he won the championship in 2021. But the problem is, and it proved it quite a lot in 2023, when he's in the middle of the pack with that underpowered Yamaha, he struggles. He just struggles. And he's proven that time and time again during his MotoGP career that when he's back in about either row 4 or row 5 or something like that, or even on the third row or the second row, when he's back in the middle of the pack, he struggles. And it wasn't just in all 2023. It's happened throughout his MotoGP career. And unfortunately, that's going to keep on happening until he gets a better bike other than a Yamaha, to be honest. So just to round off with Yamaha, no real expectations really for them, to be honest. I think Rins will get, if he's healthy, I think he'll get better. He'll get better and better on that Yamaha as time goes on. But I think Fabio, I think Yamaha will be I think there's a definite sign that Fabio will lose his patience with Yamaha if they don't improve from 2023. Let's put it that way. To be honest, moving on to and then before I move on to the next manufacturer, we have to look very quickly at the 2024 calendar. So the first round, obviously, of course, is this weekend at Qatar, not surprisingly. Then in a couple of weeks, they go over to Portimao, to the beautiful Portimao circuit, for the Portuguese Grand Prix, which is March 22 to 24, so that's in a couple of weeks. I think it's the same week. I think it's the same weekend. I think as the Australian Formula One Grand Prix. I think either the Australian Formula One Grand Prix is this weekend or next weekend. I don't know. Next weekend, sorry, or the weekend after, the same way as the Portuguese Formula MotoGP round. Who knows about that? The third round of the season, they go to Qatar for the Grand Prix of Americas on April 12th to 14th. Let me bring this laptop forward here so I don't have to move over there. Then afterwards, they in a couple of weeks afterwards, they have their first European race of the season at usual at Circuit Jerez. for the Spanish Grand Prix held on April 26 to 28. Then they go to Le Mans for the French Grand Prix on May 10th to 12th. Then the sixth race of the season is the Catalan Grand Prix, or they say the Catalunya Grand Prix, over at Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona on May 24 to 26. I think last year it was towards the middle to end part of the season last year. Now it's moved back to its usual slot. Well, on the past before last year, it was usually after the Italian Grand Prix. Now it's between the French and Italian Grand Prix. Speaking of Italian Grand Prix, the seventh race of the season is the Italian Grand Prix at Mugello on May 31 to June 2nd. Can't wait to see a lot of PECCO Bagnaia and Ducati fans around Mugello. Then the eighth race of the season, which I can't wait for, to be honest, is the inaugural Kazakhstan Grand Prix at the Stuggle International Race Track. Saw a bit of it. I saw photos of it actually last year before the actual event got cancelled last year, and it actually looks kind of great. Right, it looks like a great racetrack, to be honest. So I can't wait to see how MotoGP bikes go around there. Then afterwards, on June 28th to 30th, is the Dutch Grand Prix around Assen, and then the 10th, and then the last race before here it's winter, but over in Europe it's a summer break. It is the German Grand Prix around the Sachsenring, and then afterwards they go on a month break. As I said, go on a month break. And the first race afterwards they'll be going over to Silverstone for the British Grand Prix, held on August 2nd to 4th. Then a couple of weeks after that, fortnight afterwards would be the Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg. Can't wait for that race. Usually those races, that race at that track produce absolute crackers. The 13th race of the season, unlucky for some, is the return of the Aragon Grand Prix at Aragon. It wasn't, for some reason, it wasn't on the calendar in 2023, but now it's back on. It's going to be held on August 30th to September 1. Then the 14th race of the season, which would be the last race of this long run of European races, as usual, will be the San Marino Grand Prix at Mazzano's World Circuit Marco Simoncelli, and then we head to the flyways. It's going to be a very long one, to be honest. So the 15th race of the season, they go back to the Buddha International Circuit in India for the Indian Grand Prix. Then they go to Indonesia at the Mandalika circuit for the Indonesian Grand Prix. Then afterwards, on October 4 to 6, you got the Japanese Grand Prix at the Motegi circuit. Then the 18th race of the season, it is the usual run around the island for the Australian Motorcycle Grand Prix at Phillip Island. Can't wait for that, which is held on October 18 to 20. Then afterwards would be the Thailand Grand Prix around the Chiang International Circuit in Buriram, which is, I think I said the date already. I think it's on October 25 to 27. Then the penultimate round of the championship will be at the Sepang circuit in Malaysia, which will be held on November 1st through the 3rd. And then the traditional season finale in Valencia, the Ricardo Tumo circuit in Valencia, held on November 15th to 17th. But there's also going to be a reserve event if one of these 21 races is going to get cancelled. And that is the Hungarian Grand Prix at the brand new Balaton Park circuit, which I haven't seen any photos of it. as of yet. So I can't give you guys a description of what it is. I might have to, after this video is done, maybe I'll check out photos of it, see how it is. But other news, and then also in the news, you might have seen there's no Termo Steuria Honda race around for the Argentinian Grand Prix, because that race got cancelled due to current circumstances, and because of it, and it will not be replaced. So originally it was going to be 22 rounds, now it's gone down to 21. So yeah, but better than that, anyways. But yeah, so those are going to be the races. That is the calendar for the 2024 season. Now onto the big three teams, as I get my drink in early, because obviously that was a big mouthful reviewing that calendar. So yeah, moving on to KTM. So obviously finishing third in the Constructors Championship. Obviously now not only Red Bull now sponsoring the factory team, they're now also sponsoring the Gas Tech Free team now, and also to coincide with that, the Gas Tech Free team obviously it's an unchanged lineup over Red Bull KTM with Brad Binder and Jack Miller. But Gas and Tech Free have bought a massive acquisition in the form of rookie sensation, the youngest Moto2 world champion of all time in one, and some label the next Marc Marquez, one Pedro Acosta, who obviously come off the back of obviously winning the Moto2 World Championship last year, with 7 wins to his name, 3 poles, 14 podiums, and 8 fastest laps. There was a really consistent season from him, really, and his rise and progression in the last 3 years has just been incredible. I mean, winning the Moto3 World Championship as a 16-year-old, winning the Moto2 World Championship as an 18-year-old, and now he's in the MotoGP World Championship at 19, and he's got a lot of hype on it. He's probably maybe one of the more hyped rookies that MotoGP's had probably since Marc Marquez, to be honest. I know there was Jorge Martin, there was Fabio Quartararo back in 2019, even Maverick Vinales when he came in 2015. But I think probably also Joanne Zarco as well in 2017. But I don't think in even more time as a MotoGP fan heard of more hype surrounding this 19-year-old freaking phenom. Not surprisingly, I might add, judging from, of course, obviously winning the Moto3 World Championship as a 16-year-old, winning the Moto2 World Championship as an 18-year-old. So that's not surprising that he's progressed that quickly as a rider, to be perfectly honest with that. Of course, he's joined by his Moto2 teammate from 2022 in 2022 Moto2 World Champion in Augusto Fernandez. So obviously, of course, Augusto, he's sort of impressed. In his first season. I mean, the best finish was 4th, which was a shock to me when I first heard that. I was like, wow, he finished in 4th? Are you kidding me? But yeah, and then he had some stellar performances, but not really that much there. And then obviously with the factory boys, obviously Binder far and away the best. I mean, two sprint wins. A 11 poles, five of them Grand Prix, 6 of them sprints, and of course the fastest lap to go with it as well. And then a comparison to Jack Miller, I think for me, a bit of a disappointing first season. I think he was expecting more, to be honest, because obviously coming from with the factory Ducati team in 2022, coming to this team in 2023, he was expecting far better results, but unfortunately that didn't really seem to come to fruition there. So hopefully he does basically improves on last year. Moving on to the Sepang and Qatar tests, and not surprisingly, the first ever official MotoGP test, Pedro Acosta was in terms of combined lap times within the top 10. No joke, he was in the top 10 already for first test day. If he's like this all season, when he's in the top 10 his first season in MotoGP, God help us all for the freaking future. Let's put it that way. God freaking help us all. Let's put it that way. And it obviously, even ahead of Jack Miller as well, I should say, but Binder was the leader in both in terms of lap times in both the Sepang and the Qatar tests. Obviously, he was in the top 10 combined in both. And then not surprisingly, in both they clogged all 4 of those KTM riders clogged a lot of laps. Let's put it that way. They clogged a lot of laps. So I think the second most laps combined out of the 2 tests of any other constructor. We've combined out of all 4 riders from both let's combine about 5 days of testing combined out of the 2 tests. 1,178 laps combined out of the 4 combined out of the 5 official days of testing at both Sepang and Qatar. So mileage was the key there. I mean with Bindi being in the top 10, being combined in the top 10 in both Sepang and at Qatar, almost said a ref there for a second, was pretty much just a bonus for them. And I think, and not surprisingly, since Acosta, I think at the Qatar test, all for Acosta wanted to do was mileage, to be honest, around Qatar. I mean, he clogged the most laps out of anybody out of the Qatar test combined out of those 2 days of 145 laps. So obviously he needed as much track time as he could get, because obviously it's the first time going around that track on a MotoGP bike. So that's what made it a lot more shocking when he put it in the lap times in the top 10 at Sepang. So yeah. Expectations surrounding KTM. Definitely for Brad Binder, I think he's definitely. I would love to see him get a Grand Prix victory. Get a Grand Prix victory this season. He's one of those that is strong as well in the sprint races. I think he'll be strong there too. I think he'll be strong there. He'll be strong there too. Of course, Miller. I'm expecting big things from him in his second season. I think he's the most under pressure out of the 4. Otherwise, his seat might get taken away by Pedro Acosta if he does impress in his first season in MotoGP. And Pedro Acosta, like, what can I expect out of Pedro Acosta? So much. Let's put it that way. So much, because obviously, obviously he's won in pretty much everything, every single bike in this ladder that he's touched. He's won in Moto3, he's won in Moto2, It's only a matter of time before he wins he wins a race or two in MotoGP, and I won't be surprised if he does that in his first season, because obviously he's that sort of rider. Not surprising, but yeah, and yeah, so it's pretty crazy, pretty crazy, really. And then Augusto Fernandez as well. I won't be surprised if he if in the old crazy race happens. Maybe he gets a podium. To be honest, like goes one better than he had at Le Mans last year and get a podium. I won't be surprised by that. Or maybe even at Le Mans, maybe he gets the podium. Who knows? Because he seemed pretty strong around that track. So yeah, but I think for me, most of the wins, I don't see Fernandez definitely winning a race. Definitely don't see it. I could see Miller in a crazy race and winning one. I think most of the winning will either be Binder or Pedro Acosta. To be honest, I think as I said, Binder would probably do most of the winning, and obviously yeah. But I think for me, Binder's target would probably have to be getting to the top three in the championship. But it's probably behind, probably in the midst of probably the two, in a lot of Ducatis. So yeah. Moving on to the runner-up in the Constructors' Championship, and that being Aprilia, it just seems like they're just getting better and better and better. Let's put it that way, just getting better and better as the years they go by. Obviously, but of course the big news coming out of there was that that RNF Racing is no more. They got kicked out of the championship due to obvious reasons, and the new independent team at Aprilia is Trackhouse Racing, which you American NASCAR fans will probably know what that team is, because they've been hugely successful in NASCAR, and it's also the same team that Shane Van Gisbergen drives for in the NASCAR in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Great one there, and all four riders are retained in the Aprilia ranks. I mean, you've got Maverick Vinales, you've got Raul Fernandez, Alicia Spargaro, and of course Miguel Oliveira. So of course, the last year, it was obviously highs and lows for Aprilia. Obviously, with 2 Grand Prix wins and a sprint win for Alicia Spargaro, even a 1-2 actually at Catalunya, which I think is the first time in the MotoGP era that the factory Aprilia team actually finished 1-2 in a Grand Prix race, which is very surprising, to be honest. That's how far that this team has come from being a laughing stock about 4 or 5 years ago to now, obviously one of the leading manufacturers now in MotoGP now. So yeah. Now that with the downfall of Honda and Yamaha. So yeah. And then of course Vinales, obviously this is by far his best season on an Aprilia. Grabbed the pole position at the final race at Valencia. 5 podiums, 3 of them in Grand Prix, 2 of them in the sprint. A fastest lap. He even got a fastest lap at Catalunya. And then obviously an injury-riddled season from the likes of Miguel Oliveira. But he did have his highlights there, of course, with a 4th place finish, fighting out for the podium finish at Silverstone, and then obviously what a way to round out Raul Fernandez's season with a 5th place finish at the season finale in Valencia, which is not a bad way to end the MotoGP season for Aprilia, if you say so myself. So moving on to the both Sepang and Qatar tests. I think that now, obviously, the one to talk about. Obviously, they used 5 riders in the test because Raul Fernandez suffered a crash early. I think it was on day 1 of the test in Sepang, and I think he had to sit out the remaining couple of days. So that's how Lorenzo Salvadori, their test rider, slotted into Fernandez's seat just for the remaining 3 days. And they clogged up, not a lot of laps basically, but the factory teams boast a lot of laps. I mean, second out of all the teams, the second most out of all the teams. Not surprisingly, the only one that headed them was not surprisingly the factory Ducati team. Not surprisingly in that, but obviously, Alicia Spargaro, not surprisingly, led the combined time sheets in both tests. I mean, fifth fastest at the Sepang test, and then 3rd fastest at the Qatar test as well. He was also he was the only one. He was the only one really out of the Aprilias that was in the top 10 and the combined times out of the 3 days at Sepang, and then Maverick Vinales made it even better. Well, actually there were 3. Actually, there was 3 in the top 10, which was, of course, Alicia, then Maverick, and then obviously Raul Fernandez, who shocked everyone, but out of the combined times out of the 3 days at Qatar, ended up 5th fastest. So it's proven that he also has some speed in there as well, and also Miguel Oliveira was not that far off the top 10, to be honest. So all for I should say full time, because obviously their test rider Lorenzo Salvadori also tested there as well, but didn't do that many laps. I think he did only day 1, and that was it, to be honest. But obviously having 3, encouraging at Qatar, obviously 3 riders in the top 10, and obviously the 4th one in Miggy was not far off the top 10. So they were definitely on the pace at the Qatar test, all 4 of those riders. So and obviously it proved it also, where of course Aprilia were the 2nd fastest constructor out in both Sepang and the Qatar tests. Not surprisingly, to be honest, and obviously clocking, and then not surprisingly they clocked the 3rd most laps combined out of the two tests, with 1110 laps, which is 3rd behind KTM and the last manufacturer we're talking about. So my expectations surrounding Aprilia, I expect them to challenge, well, especially Alicia, due to his pace in testing. I don't know if it's actually their true pace or not. I'm expecting them to really challenge heavily the Ducatis all season really. Up there amongst the top 5, top 6. I'm expecting Raul Fernandez now in his 2nd season to really get to grips now with the Aprilia, and obviously show that obviously that pace he showed at the Qatar test, being 5th fastest, is no flash in the pan. And if Miguel Oliveira does some performances like he did at Silverstone last year, then there's really high hopes for Aprilia. Let's put it that way. For this year, I should say. The one who's on the most under pressure, I don't know. I think for me, it has to be on all 4 riders for me, because if it's true that Fabio Quartararo wants out of Yamaha, there could be the possibility here that either the Factory Aprilia team or Trackhouse Racing could offer him a contract. Could offer him a contract. And if it's Raul Fernandez, for example, that has to be sacrificed, I don't think Fabio would care, to be honest, if it's a factory spec bike or a bike that's a year old. He doesn't care, so long as he doesn't freaking have to be on that freaking underpowered freaking Yamaha. Let's put it that way. But I think for me, if any of those four riders does have a bad season, one of those four is going to be ousted and Fabio will be in if Fabio decides I've had enough of Yamaha. So watch this space there for me. I think all four of them, yeah. But I expect them to take the next level and probably heavily challenge Ducati at all races in the 2024 season. As you guys noticed, I've talked about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I've talked about 14 riders. Riders here. Because once again, for the third year in a row, Ducati have the other 8. They got the other 8. They got the other 8 in. Obviously, they are the reigning, defending, undisputed champions of pretty much everything, really. Of course, with having riders, having two-time world champion in Pecco Bagnaia, staying there. Of course, you got the runner-up in Jorge Martin, who at the now reigning teams champion in Pramac, the first independent team to win the teams world championship. And of course, you got Alex Marquez staying at Gresini. You got Marco Bezzecchi. Surprise even me by staying at the VR46 team. But there are changes. And obviously, I also forgot that Enea Bastianini obviously staying as Pecco's teammate at the Lenovo at Ducati team. There are two new and three and another one that is staying on but changing teams. So the first one, obviously, Franco Morbidelli joins up from Yamaha factory team to replace Johann Zarco at Pramac. Then you got Fabio Di Gianantonio, who of course come off of that fantastic performance last year at Qatar when he won his maiden Grand Prix, which basically got him the ride of VR46, because before then we didn't know if he was going to be a MotoGP at all, to be honest. But he's moved over to there from Gresini, and his replacement in Gresini is some guy by the name of Marc Marquez. Don't know if you've heard of him. He's won 8 MotoGP World Championships, won numerous races at Honda. No, that happened. That happened obviously. But yeah, so and then obviously, obviously all the focus was on, last year was on Bagnaia versus Martin for the championship. It was all down to that, really. I'm interested because obviously they are going to be the benchmark. Not surprisingly, they are going to be the benchmark this year. Again, not surprisingly. But out of these 8 riders, who do I think could win races? You know what? I have a feeling that there's a possibility that all 8 of these riders could have either a sprint win or a Grand Prix win under their belt by the end of this year. I won't be surprised about that happening. I think Bagnaia, he's capable of winning races. He's proven that the last few years. Morbidelli, I think that this could be the bike that definitely gets him back to his form that we saw from him when he was runner-up in the 2020 World Championship. Bastianini can win any given race. Fabio Digi proved at Qatar that he's capable of winning a race. You got PECCO, who proved earlier in 2023 that he can win a race. Alex Marquez, who's become he became a new man when he came to Gresini, and obviously, of course, winning a couple of sprint races, and obviously the pole position at Argentina as well. Of course, Martin, we all know the speed that he has. Obviously, I think he won the most sprint races with 9. And obviously the great unknown is Marc Marquez, who obviously on any bike can actually win at any given race, to be honest. So yeah, so there you go. So that is, there's no weak, because the problem is there's no weak links in this team. And to be honest, adding Mark into their ranks has made them even stronger. It's just, as I said, it's just made them even stronger than what they previously were, and the tests proved it. So obviously, Michele Pirro, obviously he raced the test. Both the tests to replace Franco Morbidelli, who I think he sat out, I believe. I haven't read much into that, why he wasn't there. But look at this here. I mean, both the factory Ducatis with both the factories, all three of the factory spec. We would discount Michele Pirro obviously because he's a test rider, but in Bagnaia, Bastianini, and Martin, they were 1, 2, 3. So there you go. So that new Desmo Sedici GP24 is definitely on the pace. Was definitely on the pace, no doubt about it, in Sepang. Let's put it that way. And then obviously outside of that, you got Di Antonio in 8th. You got Alex Marquez, or actually 1, 2, 3, 4. If you think it was 1, 2, 3, 4 because Alex Marquez was 4th, and then you got Marc Marquez in 6th and Di Antonio in 8th. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 6 out of the 8 Ducati riders finishing the top 10 combined out of the combined lap times best combined lap times out of the 3 days at Sepang. So that's not surprising there. And of course, not surprisingly, obviously Bagnaia breaking lap record, obviously. There and then you continue that pace to Qatar by being the first guy to set a 150 in the test. The only guy in the test to set a 150 lap below 151, below the 151s, getting 150, setting a time of 150.952. Maybe my words up a bit, so I'm gonna get a drink here because basically I'm speaking about Ducatis. Yeah, so yeah, and then obviously again, obviously the factory Ducatis were 1, 2, not surprisingly, with Bastianini in 2nd. You got Di Antonio again in 8th. You got PECCO in the top 10. Martin in 7th. You got Martin in 7th, which was below par by his standards, but obviously it's a test, obviously. And then Marc Marquez in 4th. So that's 5 of them in the top 10. 5 of them in the top 10 with the others. Not surprisingly, with Alex Marquez in 13th. And who's the other one? Who's the other one here? Not 2. No, yeah. So I think the other one. Yeah, I think the other one was Michele Pirro, but obviously he's a test rider, so that he doesn't count in that. So yeah, and so what are my expectations on Ducati? Not surprisingly, all championships are on the table for them. Riders, teams, constructors. A triple crown. Why not? They did it last year, albeit with different different teams. Of course, Bagnaia, Pramac, obviously. But I won't be surprised if that happens again. They are the brand now in MotoGP. So yeah. So I think for me, yeah, so I think for me, that is the case there for me in that case, but for them to be the ones that would be to beat in MotoGP at this point in time. But that's probably it for this video. Now I'm gonna do my season predictions on all 3 classes in MotoGP, Moto2, and Moto3 in the next video, which I'll be previewing the Moto2 and the Moto3 World Championships. So stay tuned for that. So like this video, share this to anybody who's a Ducati fan, or a PECCO They fan, or a Jorge Martin fan. Comment down below comment down below who's your pick to win the MotoGP World Championship. Do you think we bag Nair again? Do you think Martin will go one better? Do you think it's someone different out of Ducati camp? Do you think maybe Brad Binder might come from the clouds and win the MotoGP World Championship? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. And one last thing, somewhere down there, click on the big red button which is labeled subscribe. But until next time, guys, I'll see you all later.